that being said, if we want to modernize the current system, we also have to address the problem with learning styles and how everybody learns differently and copes with things differently. And the reason why I bring that up is because all of our life we have been taught to read a textbook and regurgitate that information onto a test, onto a paper test, and then continue on. I don't know, I love learning and I would love more people to be excited about learning, but sometimes when I just come to school, read a book, listen to the teacher talk, and try to remember the information just to regurgitate it and forget it, it's kind of taking the fun out of education. And I don't mean to sound like a nerd, but I am kind of a nerd out here. But again, just becoming more flexible and accommodating to students instead of just abiding by this old system of just reading and regurgitating, then it would definitely help our mental health and help become less stressed and manage our time more wisely by providing certain flexibility, such as flexible deadlines or allowing more breaks or allowing more mental health breaks specifically, and asking students for their needs. It really does improve mental health as a whole, because all kids are unique with differing needs and coping mechanisms. The mental health interventions that are chosen need to be based on the individual needs of each child and be able to flex in order to provide more or less support as needed, especially again with those rising mental health statistics within teenagers and children even. Because if somebody doesn't really want to go to college, or if somebody doesn't really want to go to the military, they're just stuck in this sort of path that we have crafted that definitely eliminates individuality and uniqueness as a whole. I know that myself, I do want to go to college, but knowing that as an artist, if I don't have that sort of education in my background, then I'm not going to get more jobs, or even not even as an artist, for anybody in general. Just knowing that there are alternatives out there, even starting your own business, for example, and providing information to our students about how to achieve those alternatives can definitely help, again, decrease the pressure and eliminate the sort of computerized system for students, or not computerized system, but more like seeing students as computers, seeing students as the same as everybody else. And let me tell you, I am so passionate about this topic, because there have been so many times in my life where I equated my self-worth to the grade average or the grade percentage that I have in each class. And if I got a bad grade on something, I thought I was just an absolutely stupid individual, like dumb, like I can't comprehend anything, like I'm such a failure type of feelings, when that should never be the case. We should not prioritize grades or GPA or tests, assignments, anything over our mental health, because that's what makes us human. We should instead have more of a growth mindset and think like we're always improving, we're always growing, and even if I fail, that is okay, because I can always get back up again and try more and keep on going to achieve your best self. Because we all need that space for growth. We cannot allow ourselves to think that if we fail, we are nothing. And that is such a common concept that I've seen within students, or just people in general, not even just students, adults even. If you don't have good grades, that does not mean you're a bad student. If you don't have good grades, that does not mean you can't succeed. 2 or 3 schools that I've been to that are just ignorant to providing students with these resources, or feel they don't need to, feel that students should figure it out on their own, or just promoting that, oh yeah, if you're struggling, go to a teacher. And then there's teachers like, why are you not getting this? Why are you stupid? And just putting down students in general. And that's such a common thing. Like, if a student is struggling, don't put them down more. You're just gonna make them feel more bad. Like, you're just gonna make them feel worse. When I see schools not provide tutoring or just not provide resources in general that can additionally help students outside of the classroom, it's like you're setting them up for failure. Like, why are you not allowing students to have room for growth and have room to improve, but you're also saying if you don't have good grades, you're not going to exceed? It's never made sense to me. And diving a little bit back into the sort of old system we have, that system doesn't account for people with learning disabilities, and it doesn't account for people with mental health issues, which, might I add, 1 in 5 children and youth have a diagnosable emotional behavior or mental health disorder. And lastly, the system does not account for some people are just not good test takers. Some people are just not good concentrators. Some people just struggle with school in general, and you have to try to provide these resources for students who are just natural strugglers, or again, people with learning disabilities or mental health issues or outside challenges that they have to face. If everybody feels like school is pointless, then what are you going to do when it comes to just future careers or future outlooks in life? School is such a huge part of life that we shouldn't just continue to abide by the old system in general and call it a day. We should definitely try to create such a safe environment and a interesting environment, engaging environment for those with issues outside of school, mental health issues, physical issues, anybody that does not fit the box that was established in 1635 and the 1700s. When you label somebody as a troubled kid or somebody who's just a bad student in general, first of all, they're going to feel worse about who they are as a person, or they're going to feel outcasted and ostracized, and they're going to put themselves down for not being like everybody else, not being labeled as a kid that has potential, because every student, every kid has potential to be great. And that doesn't even have to be within school. That could be outside of school, with like art, for example. And by labeling students as a troubled student and pushing this sort of narrative that all they do is cause trouble, it's not going to make the student feel good. It's going to make them feel worse. Instead of saying, we're just not going to tolerate that, and you're an absolutely troubled kid, you're absolutely a horrible student, and you should be ashamed of yourself. That's not a productive way to look at things for the school or the student. And it does not encourage students to do better at all. I don't know whoever came up with like the idea of detention or expulsion or suspension of whatever, their attendance, suspension of, well, don't worry about it. Whoever came up with that idea was absolutely just ignorant, because it does not encourage students to do better. It does not encourage students to try to improve themselves and improve their sort of outlook on life in school. Each time it's either just jumping to harsh statistics that scare everybody into being happy, which, how do you be happy? How do you manage stress? How do you manage your negative emotions instead of just throwing harmful statistics at us? How do you cope with mental health on a daily basis? Or just demonizing it in general and dismissing students' stress because, if you're young, what problems do you really have to deal with or whatever, and just taking this sort of moral high road as the adult figure who is going through a divorce or is going through so many loans that are their mental health struggles is justified. Schools often have a hard time providing mental health resources. I shouldn't even say schools have a hard time. Schools just don't provide enough mental health resources, even though, again, it's just the center of life. And if there are mental health resources, they are not very good, honestly. And there is a train. So again, just having these programs that put students at risk for more stress and more unsatisfaction when it comes to life or school in general, and not providing these resources is such an awful thing to do. I understand if the program is going to exist, which I have so many problems with the AP program in general. If you have these sort of programs, you should allow students the space to feel safe and comfortable and happy while taking these programs, instead of having these effects